Swifter, this is going to be a challenge video. You should know what you need to do in order to get a table view with daily weather data showing up for each weather location that we swipe to. There will be some hints to help you in case you get stuck, and you can refer to the to-do list app that we created earlier as a reference for trying this on your own. And as always, we'll show you the solution after posing the challenge. Let's go! Right, Swifter, so by the time we're done with this video, we are going to see that you've got a table view in here with a custom table view cell. And as we swipe, you can see the weekly forecast day by day for every single location that you're visiting. And you can see the dates are adjusting because it's Friday in Ouagadougou, but Saturday in Sydney. And what's more, you should know how to do most of this, so we're going to issue this as a challenge. And so here's your challenge. Inside your location detail view controller, add a table view. Constrain it as you see over here on the right. So that's got the right side and left side 0 from the safe area. The top of the table view should be constrained 0 from the bottom of the teal view, and the bottom of the table view should be constrained at 0 from the top of the toolbar. Now, some advice, and you should really try to do this on your own. Now, before you try this, make sure that you've committed and pushed so that you can go back if you run into a problem. And also remember, if you get stuck, you can go and take a look at your to-do list as a guide. So everything that we're going to be doing here, you've also done in to-do list. Now, back to that table view, you need to have a table view cell as well. Give it the identifier name cell, give it a row height of 80. And remember, not only do you set the row height in your size inspector, you're also going to need to add a function to your extension to set the table view cell's row height. You also did that in to-do list, so you can check that out as a guide. And then use the names that you see here in bold as IB outlet names in your custom table view cell file. So create an image view named daily image view, and that should be 70 by 70. Aspect fit should be the default setting. Add a label named daily weekday label. That'll hold the day of the week. Make it Avenir next, not condensed. The style should be demi-bold and the font should be 22. The daily summary is a text view, and the reason it's a text view is that this will allow us to top justify any text inside of it. Unfortunately, we can't do that with a label. So some of the summary text is just one line, some of it is more than one line. So if we use a text view, that'll just allow all of the summary stuff to come right underneath the weekday name, which I think is a nicer user interface effect. Add some settings to this text view to make sure that it behaves like a label. So in the attributes inspector for the text view, under the behavior setting, make sure that you check off selectable and editable. It should be neither of those. Under scroll view, check off horizontal and vertical indicator. And the background color should be set to no color. That might be listed as default, but it's this white box that you see here with the red line through it. So that means no color. It means the background is transparent. And this will allow you to overlap the text view with the label like I'm showing right here, and the background of the text view then won't overlap or obscure anything in the label above it. Also set the text view's font to Avenir. The style should be book style, and the font size should be 14. Both the label and the text view should have their auto resizing like this, anchored to the top and the left, and the horizontal center bar should also be checked, so showing up in a darker red, and that will grow the width of this label and text view so that they get larger if they're used on a larger iPhone. Now, daily high label is going to hold the day's high temperature, and it should be Avenir next, style demi-bold, 22 point, and its text should be aligned to the right. And the daily low label should be a label that holds the low temperature for the day. It should be Avenir, its style should be book, the font should be 18 points, and the alignment also to the right. And both of the temperature labels should have auto resizing, anchoring them to the top and the right. You don't need to do anything for the width. And at this point, you might just want to set up the rest of the table view stuff inside of your location detail view controller, just to make sure that everything works. And I'll show you on the next slide, the hint slide, what this should look like. But it might be a good idea to try this before getting into the custom table view cell stuff, just in case you run into an early snag. Then, since we're creating a custom table view cell, you're going to need to create a new UI table view cell file. And for consistency with what I'm going to show, why don't you name this daily table view cell? Then add all of the UI elements that you created above to this custom table view cell. So that's where you put the IB outlets. You don't put them in the location detail view controller. Then inside this custom cell, the daily table view cell, add a variable named daily weather, and that should hold an instance of the daily weather data class that we created inside of our weather detail. Set this variable up with a property observer just like you did with a custom cell in to-do list, so that any changes in this new daily weather variable will update all of the cell's user interface elements. Remember how we did property observers with did set? And there are a couple of more things that you're going to need to do to work with a custom table view cell. As a hint, I'll tell you inside of your TableView cell for row at function that's inside of location detail view controller, you need to do a couple of things there. And again, you can look back at your to-do list as a reference. Now, as another hint, if you compare what you did in your to-do list with your new custom TableView cell that you're doing here, you aren't going to need a protocol here. So the only reason we did the custom protocol, that's the protocol that's inside of your custom cell in to-do list, is this handled the checkbox setting. But since we're not dealing with a checkbox setting, there's no need to have a custom protocol specifically inside of your TableView cell here in WeatherGift. Now, in terms of those hints that I mentioned, if you set up your TableView cell but you haven't yet done your custom class, this is what things should look like. So hopefully this is what you've got before you put your custom class in, but if not, here are a bunch of hints. So did you create an IB outlet for your TableView? Did you set up the TableView.delegate and TableView.dataSource in your ViewDidLoad? Did you create an extension for the TableView code? Did you name the extension the name of your location detail view controller? Did you adopt the protocols for TableView Delegate and TableView DataSource? And did you include the required methods for those protocols? Now, one of those required methods is the TableView method number of rows in section. Did you set up number of rows in section so that you return the value weatherdetail.dailyweatherdata.count? Again, weatherdetail.dailyweatherdata is the array that's going to have all of this stuff in here. So that's where your TableView cells are going to get the data. Did you add a method for TableView height for row at? Remember, that's the one that also needs to be set to 80. So it sets the row height to 80. And also, this is an easy one to overlook. Did you call the TableView.reloadData method inside of update user interface right at the end of your dispatch queue.main.async? If you don't do this, after you get your data, you've never reloaded your TableView cells, so none of that data that you got is going to show in your TableView. Now, here's some more tips. If you set up your custom class, this is what your app should be looking like in the end. You should have proper data for every single location for all of the days, a week's worth of weather. Now, if this wasn't working for you, here are some hints. Did you set up a UI TableView cell class named Daily TableView Cell? Did you set the TableView cell's identity on the main storyboard using the identity inspector to this new Daily TableView cell? Did you add the outlets to Daily TableView cell? Those are all of the labels and that one text view, as well as the image view that you created a couple of slides ago. In Daily TableView cell, did you add a variable to hold an instance of daily weather data and call it daily weather, with a property observer to update all of the IB outlets when the daily weather value is changed? Did you modify your TableView DQ reusable cell call in cell for row at with the as exclamation point at the end so that it creates a daily TableView cell instead of a UI TableView cell? And again, you can look back to see how you did this in your to-do list application. You're going to do the same thing here, but make sure that you name it with as exclamation point daily TableView cell, because that's the name of the new custom cell you have in this app. And then also in your TableView cell for row at function, you need to make sure that you set your cell's daily weather property to weatherdetail.dailyweatherdata and then in brackets indexPath.row. And once that's set, what that should do is it should go ahead and call the property observer to update all of the IB outlets and to make sure that your data is showing. So if you haven't already, why don't you go ahead and pause, give this your best shot, go back and check out those hints if you need to, and resume. Hopefully that worked. We're going to go ahead and do it together right now just in case. So on the main storyboard, in the library, search for a table view and drag it into your location detail view controller. Now with the table view selected, click Add Constraints. Put zeros in all four directions, top, left, right, and bottom. You can click the drop-down arrows to check that you're constraining to the proper item, but the defaults should work here. For example, if I click on the down arrow next to the bottom constraint, I can see that I'll constrain to the toolbar, which is what I want. Just be careful, because if you select the item, it'll put the current value of the distance between them, but you'll need to retype a 0. Then once you have everything set, add 4 constraints. And this is a bit of an Xcode quirk. It looks like it's added a gap between the table view and the teal blue view above it. So what I'm going to do is zoom in here. I'm going to click right on the constraint in between the two, that little line separator. Then I can go up under the attributes inspector. You can see up top, I'm in the attribute inspector for the vertical space constraint, and I'm just going to set the constant to 0. When I press enter, that gap goes away. I'll click back on the table view. I'll increase the number of prototype cells to 1. And just to make sure that my table view is resizing properly, I'm going to go down here, click on a larger iPhone, the max size, everything looks good. I'll go back down to the SE. Now I'll click back on the cell. I'll set the identifier to capital CELL. I'll click on the size inspector and I'll set the row height to 80. Now it's time for the image view, so I'll click on the library, search for an image view, drag the image view over, position roughly the upper left-hand corner of the image view. Then in the size inspector, I'll set the width and the height to 70. Then I'll just position the image view over here on the left-hand side. I'm going to get into the attributes inspector for the image, and I'm going to select rain in here just to see something. That's my daughter Lily in her raincoat, looking good. Now click on library, find a label, and drag that over. This will be our label that will show the weekday. Put some bogus text in here, Bloomsday. I'll click on the T next to font to bring up the settings, change to a custom font. I want that to be Avenir Next. I'll set the style to demi-bold, and I'll set the size to 22. Then I'll drag the labels handle to the right to make it a little bit bigger, click it again, and Command D to duplicate it. This one will hold my daily high temperature. I will set the alignment to right justified. I'll put a large, ridiculous temperature in here just to test the size, 188, and it's Option Shift 8 to get the degree symbol. And I'll shrink down the size of this label and position it in the upper right-hand corner. I'll go to Library, search for Text View, drag it over, try my best to plop it inside of the cell. There it is. I'll position the upper left-hand corner so that the text is going to be lined up with the Bloomsday above it. And I'll change the bogus text inside from all this lorem ipsum to rain, rain, go away, come back another day. I'll resize the bottom of the text view so that it's even with the bottom of the cell. I'll go down here into background to set the background color, and I want this default option here, which is the white rectangle with the red line through it. That means it's transparent, so there's no background color. And before I change this, the tail of the Y in Bloomsday was obscured, and now you can see it because that background's transparent. Now, text views normally allow you to enter text, but we're going to disable those features so that this behaves more like a label. So we're going to go up here under Scroll View and click off Show Horizontal Indicator and Show Vertical Indicator. Also scroll up to the Behavior attribute and click off Editable and click off Selectable. And then we'll change the font to the custom font Avenir. The style will be Book. I know that's an unusual style, but it's a style for the Avenir font. And for the size, we'll make it 14. So I thought I set it to 14. I just got to adjust it to 14. There we go. Looks good. Now I'll click on the high temperature label and Command D to duplicate it. Position it below the high temperature. It's okay to have a little bit of overlap. I'll give it a ridiculous temperature too. How about negative 88 degrees? And I'll set the font to Avenir, style to Book, and the size to 18. Then I'll click on one of my temperature labels and command click to select the second label. Go into the size inspector, and auto resizing should be set so that it's constrained to the top and the right. Then I'll click once on my weekday and command click on the summary, and in auto resizing, those should be constrained to the top left, but I'm also going to click the center width line here so that that turns red horizontally, and that'll enable these labels to get larger if the app is running on a larger iPhone. And here it is on a pro-sized device. Everything is resizing perfectly, so I'll go back to the SE. Now let's create an outlet for that table view. So I'll click on Location Detail View Controller, Option click back on Main Storyboard, so I'm in the Assistant Editor mode. I'm going to select the table view in the document outline and Control drag to release it just below the existing IB outlets. Name it Table View, click Connect, and click the X next to the main storyboard, so I'm back in the editor. Now, did you remember the steps to set up a table view? Think delegate and data source. So when view did load, I'm going to say tableview.delegate equals self, tableview.dataSource equals self. Then we'll need an extension, so I'm going to copy the class name, location detail view controller, go to the bottom, type in extension, paste in location detail view controller, colon, then remember table view delegate, table view data source. That'll bring up both protocols that you need, UI table view delegate and UI table view data source. Open and close curlies. Xcode lets us know we need some methods. Stub me, Xcode. Then for number of rows in section, we want to return weather detail dot daily weather data. That's our array dot count. Then in cell for row it's always let cell equal tableview.dequeue reusable cell. Select the one with the identifier and the index path. The identifier should be in quotes, capital CELL. That's the identifier we gave our cell. And the for index path should be just lower camel case index path. Then we return cell. Let's see if we look like this. That's the output just before we do our custom class, so we'll build and run, but I can remember we forgot a couple of things. Oh man, we don't see anything in our table view cells. I forgot the thing I warned you was easy to forget. I didn't call TableView.reload data after getting the data. So we'll go up to our weatherdetail.getData call, and just before we leave the main queue, we need to call self.tableview.reload data, because we got our data, we just haven't updated our TableView. And we'll build and run, and oh, I also forgot to put in the height for row at function. And I told you to do that in the hints too. I need to pay attention to my own hints. So down here, just before the curly that ends the extension, I'll type in height, and you see that there's a function TableView height for row at. Press return to accept that, and all you need to do is to return the height of the cell, so I'll return 80. Now build and run, and everything looks the way that it should before we go ahead and set up our custom TableView cell. So now let's set up that custom TableView cell. I'm going to right-click on Location List View Controller because I want to put my new TableView cell file underneath that. I'll select New File, Cocoa Touch Class, Next. Make sure it's a subclass of UI TableView cell, the cell, and I'll name this Daily TableView cell. Click Next. Click Create. I can clear out all of the garbage inside of the class, so I've just got open and close curlies after the class definition. Then let's set its identity, so we'll click on Main Storyboard, click the cell, go to the Identity Inspector, and under Class, we'll select the file we just created, Daily TableView cell. Now let's set up the IB outlets for the Daily TableView cell. Click back on Daily TableView cell.swift, option click on Main Storyboard to get into the Assistant Editor mode. Now in the document outline for Location Detail View Controller, make sure that you go into the cell, into the Content View, and find all of those interface elements, and one by one control drag over and create IB outlets. I'll do the image view first, and I'll give that the name Daily Image View. Bloomsday label will be called Daily Weekday Label. The high temperature will be called Daily High Label. The summary text view will be called Daily Summary View, and the low temperature label will be called Daily Low Label. If I move my cursor on top of all of these black-filled circles, I can see the correct IB outlets are highlighting on the main storyboard, so now I can close the main storyboard by clicking on the X. And now let's set up a variable that's going to hold our daily weather data. We'll make that a property observer, so we'll say var daily weather colon daily weather upper camel case. That's the struct we created in the previous video. Exclamation point. It's a force unwrapped optional. Now for the property observer part. We've already done this in to-do list, and if you forgot how to do it, hopefully you opened up your to-do list and used that as a reference. We're going to open and close curlies here. Then inside, our property observer is going to fire when we set or we change the value in daily weather. So we'll say did set, open and close curlies. And when we've changed our daily weather, then we should set up our IB outlets. So first it'll be daily image view dot image equals UI image named daily weather dot daily icon. Then I'll copy and paste weekday daily label, add dot text equals daily weather dot daily weekday. I'll copy and paste daily summary view dot text equal daily weather dot daily summary. Then daily high label dot text equals double quotes string interp daily weather dot daily high. And then I'll add the degree symbol after the string interp, shift option 8. Then add daily low label dot text equals, and I'll just copy what I did up for daily high label, but I'll change it so that it's daily weather dot daily low. Magnificent. That should set up our daily table view cell. Let's head over to Location Detail View Controller to finish this off. Now remember, since we're working with a new custom table view cell, we need to modify our DQ reusable cell, because normally what this does is it creates a UI table view cell. Option click on cell, and that will tell you exactly what that is, UI table view cell. But we need to access the specific properties of our new daily table view cell. So we will say as exclamation point daily table view cell. Now option click on cell and you see, hey, now it's a daily table view cell. That's what the as exclamation point did. It downcast it to the subclass that had more stuff in it, and we need to access that more stuff. Then on the line below that, we'll add cell.dailyweather equals weather detail dot daily weather data. That's our array. Open bracket index path.row, close bracket. And what this will do is it will kick off the property observer associated with daily weather inside our daily table view cell. That will automatically update all of our IB outlets. We're ready to build and run. And everything is looking good. Oh, look at that lovely daily forecast data in our table view. Swipe. There's the Gonzaga forecast. 90 tomorrow, Zags, but then down to the 60s. Swipe. You watch out for that rain tomorrow, Jackets. Swipe. Mostly in the 60s at San Francisco State. Let's see what we got at Boston College here. Swipe one more, and it's a little toasty here. It looks like it's going to rain in a couple of days, and then the beginning of next week, it'll help the flowers grow. So this is looking really good. Before we finish up, let's update just a few more things. Let's get rid of the time that's up in our date label. We did that just to verify that our date was being set properly. We don't need it anymore. Let's also write a function to clear out all of the placeholder data that we have on our main storyboard, so it doesn't say Bloomsday or a temperature of 199 degrees, and it'll also stop that from flashing up briefly as we're waiting for our data to read from our API. So first, let's get rid of the time. We'll go into Location Detail View Controller, and if we scroll up to our date formatter, we can just delete everything that's after the D, which is our day. Oh, also let's make it so that you can't select on any of the individual weekday cells. So we'll head over to the main storyboard, click on the cell, and for the attributes inspector for the TableView cell, we'll make sure that selection is set to none. Then let's head back to our Location Detail View Controller, and right under View Did Load, we'll write a function to clear out our user interface, so we'll call that func clear user interface. No parameters passed in, open and close parens, open and close curlies, call it right after super View Did Load in View Did Load. Then I want to clear out these 5 user interface elements, the ones that are in the teal view up top. So I'm just going to highlight these, copy them so that I don't have to retype the variable names. I'm going to paste them into clear user interface, then I'll delete all of the front part before the variable names. I'll delete :UI label exclamation point and replace it with .text equals empty string, and I'm going to use that for my other labels below, so I'm just going to highlight from the dot to the end of the double quotes, copy it, and then replace all of my :UI label down below with this. Now for the image view, I'll set imageview.image equal to UI image, just open and close parens. That'll give me a blank image with nothing in there. I'll build and run. No errors. We don't see any of that residual placeholder text. No 199 degrees. No Bloomsday. Swipe, 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 swipe. Everything is looking great. This is starting to look like a real app Swifter. Hope you're feeling good about your skills. I hope you did well with our challenge. And if not, I hope this was an opportunity for you to refresh your knowledge on some of the things that we learned earlier. Keep at it.